Hello everybody, and welcome back to my channel. This week's story is called Fresh Brewed Coffee. The Angels area was one of the sleazier gay clubs. Walls painted black, neon-colored plastic tables and chairs, odd flashing strobes and neon colors streaking across a dance floor filled with jumping, sweating, half-clothed bodies. The waiters and bartenders all wore white shorts and small angel wing harnesses, but little else. I came here looking for a way to forget last night, the worst night of my life, the fight with my boyfriend Isaac, the man I would do anything to get back. I nursed my double shot of scotch on the rocks, wishing the burn of the alcohol would numb the ache that I had carried for the last day. It didn't. I had hoped coming here would drown out the pain. That didn't work either. They must be having a discount for middle-aged men with pot bellies and big wallets because that was all I saw. I'm not into men 20 years older than me. When one approached, I politely told them to leave me alone, or my boyfriend would break their nose. They left me alone. I wish I still had a boyfriend. I no longer remembered what I got angry about, only that Isaac walked away from me and did not look back. Terry, I said to myself, you need anger management in the worst way. Why would anybody even want to be around me? Especially someone I loved. God, I'm a fool. I finished my drink and left the club. Nobody looked my way. It might have been the scowl on my face. 9 p.m. It was way too early for a Saturday night to go home. I walked in random directions, staring at odd mannequins in display windows. That one had two guys wearing designer jeans and t-shirts, pretending to throw a ball. Something snagged in my heart. Across the street was another one with two guys, this time holding umbrellas. Something seriously began to hurt in my chest. I found another one. Two guys walking a stuffed animal dog. I almost cried because I missed Isaac so much. Any time I saw two guys together, I hurt inside. I knew what I had to do. Somehow, I had to find Isaac and apologize and get back together. I drove to his place. His car was gone, but I went up to his door anyway, my hands cold and sweaty. I knocked, the sound hollow and empty. No answer. I sat on his doormat and leaned against his door. Pulling out my phone, I texted him. I want to see you and apologize. I didn't get a response back, so I sent again. Can I talk to you? I'm at your place. 10 minutes later, nothing. One last text. I'm sorry. I'll wait by your door until 11 if you want to see me. If not, I understand, and I won't bother you again. I went out to my car, found an old notebook, and wrote the biggest apology letter I could. 4 pages. Nobody wrote longhand anymore, and my hand cramped. I hoped it would ease the ache I felt inside, but it didn't. It only gave voice to it. I had a key to his place, like he did mine. I unlocked the door and called, Isaac? It felt wrong peeking into his empty apartment, so I locked the door and remained outside. 10 p.m. crept by, then 10:15, 10:30, 10:45, 11. 11:15. No texts, no calls, no car. Isaac didn't want to see me. We were officially over. I leaned my head against the door and let my whole body sag. I had ruined our relationship. One last text before I go. I hope someday you'll forgive me. I won't bother you again. I slid the apology note and key under his door and went back to my car. My stomach hurt and my head pounded. I'd cry, but I hurt too much. On the way back to my apartment, I picked up chips, a large pizza, and whatever beer was on sale. I had drowned the night in junk food. 2 slices, half a can of beer, and hugging a pillow. I changed into my cut-off sweats and a t-shirt, and the TV played some show I didn't watch. I pulled up every picture that Isaac and I had ever taken, and flipped through all of them. Each picture made me feel worse, but I couldn't stop. Single-handedly, I had destroyed the best thing in my life, and I didn't realize what I'd lost until tonight. I had just finished the first beer and another slice when my phone rang. I didn't recognize the number, but I answered it anyway. Some girl said, "Maribel, I can't believe you." "Wrong number," I said, and hung up. I set my phone on the coffee table. 11:45. The worst night of my life. I endured the hollow ache inside me and grabbed another slice. Someone knocked. I answered. Isaac stood at the door wearing a dark blue satin shirt and khaki slacks. He twisted the mala beads around his wrist. Isaac was several inches taller than me and lifted weights. No matter what he wore, Isaac always looked good. His eyes were red and a little puffy. His mouth held a half smile before he bit his lips. He inhaled through his nose, and a slight sob escaped. The smile turned into a grimace as he fought the emotion. Isaac clutched my letter and slightly shook his head. A tear escaped his eye, ran halfway down his cheek, and he wiped it away with the back of his hand. Isaac never cried. My heart stopped. I inhaled a little. My breath came in short, staccato beats. I could only stare because I'm afraid I'd drive him away. I'm scared to see him because I know I'll ruin the moment. I don't know what to say. Something wet fell from my eye and dripped down my cheek. Isaac reached up and wiped it. His hand remained, and I placed my hand on top of his. Isaac pushed through the door, looked at me for a moment, then kissed me. The letter dropped. The door closed, and I pressed him against the door. His mouth was hot. His breath smelled a little of mint. His hair smelled of the eucalyptus shampoo he loved. Our kiss was more like a bittersweet reunion. Isaac cried. I cried. We kissed and kissed again. His hand ran up my arm, inside the sleeve, gentle, insistent. "I'm sorry," I said. I couldn't keep the emotion out of my voice. I leaned my head back to take a breath, and Isaac traced the curve of my neck with his tongue. He stopped at my shoulder, but his mouth didn't stop kissing. He nuzzled and kissed my neck, tracking my collarbone with his tongue. We spun around until Isaac pressed me against the door. He sucked on my neck. A monstrous hickey must be his revenge. If that's the price for having him back, I could live with it. I held his head, running my other hand along his back. Closing my eyes, I enjoyed his nearness, his warmth. "I shouldn't have gotten angry," I whispered. "It's all my fault." Isaac stood, eyes even with mine, and leaned into me. Again we kissed. Then Isaac picked me up and carried me to the couch. He knelt next to me, his mouth on mine, his tongue tickling its way inside my mouth. His hand slid down my chest, my stomach, to the hem of my shirt. With a very soft touch, he slid his hand inside my shirt, massaging his slow way up to my chest. I wrapped my arms about him as best I could and inhaled his cologne. Something subtle and nice. Isaac pulled back a little and lightly kissed my nose. I drew his mouth back to mine, but his hands had other ideas. His fingers teased my left nipple. Then he lifted the shirt to expose my entire chest. He kissed me, starting with my navel, and slowly working his way up. With a slow tug, I fell off the couch, the can of beer spilling on me. Isaac wasn't here, had never been here. It had been a dream. I bit my knuckle and stared at the pizza, fighting tears. I opened a new beer, devoured another slice of pizza, and let the TV drone on. Who am I kidding? Isaac was avoiding me. Our relationship had ended. My alarm woke me at 6. God, why didn't I turn it off when I went to bed? I must have been drunk. I laid on my bed, a massive headache pounding my brain into silly putty. How much had I drunk last night? I don't even remember falling on my bed. I stunk like beer and pepperoni. I'd laugh if I wasn't so depressed and my head didn't hurt so much. I rolled over in my empty bed, missing Isaac's warmth. My hand hit an envelope lying on the other pillow, addressed to me. My phone lay next to the envelope, and a long stem red rose. I opened the envelope. It contained 2 words in Isaac's handwriting. Call me. Had he been here last night? Did he put me in bed? He must have. But when? Nobody called anybody at 6 on a Sunday, but I called him. A moment later, his phone rang. From the other room. He's here? The smell of fresh brewed coffee heralded his arrival through the bedroom door. Isaac wore a t-shirt and shorts and carried a tray with 2 plates of hash browns, eggs, and bacon, plus a couple of mugs of steaming coffee, and a bottle of aspirin. He handed me one of the plates and set the coffee on the nightstand. He lifted an eyebrow and quirked a half smile as he sat on the bed next to me. His hand quivered a little. What's this? I said. My apology, Isaac said. I went to my dad's place for advice and forgot to bring my charger. Looks like you had a party by yourself last night. Hangover? The worst, I said. I'm sorry about our fight. It's all my... I read, and got your text when I got home, Isaac said and placed a finger over my lips. Eat. You'll feel better. Then we'll talk. I went to pick up a slice of bacon, then stared at my food, then back at Isaac. He grinned and kissed me. Eat up. We have a lot to talk about. My key to his place sat by the bacon, next to the gold ring.